With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a great workout, you get a great perk out because your membership is packed with perks. For $1 down and $24.99 a month, you'll get perks like access to any of our 2,400 clean and spacious locations. Bring a friend anytime and both work out with tons of equipment that'll give you that big fitness energy. Relax in the Black Card spa and more. Work out and perk out with the PF Black Card. Join for just $1 down and $24.99 a month.
Join the judgment-free zone today. Deal ends Thursday, August 10th.
See Home Club for details.
A very special hello and welcome to all you spectator tots out there. You're listening to the latest episode of Spectales. Thank you for opening up your ear holes and pouring in a heavy dose of comic podcastery. I'm the man in Vans who can, Jake, along with my bearded partner in crime, Jesus. What's going on today, Jesus?
Oh man, we got a big episode, big guest, big t-shirts. You can say it's a Texas-sized episode. That's correct. Texas-sized, Jake. You can't take it away. Biggest state. Alaska doesn't count. Let's go.
Just discount Alaska right then and there. Everything's bigger in Texas, huh?
I've been told. I'm freakishly big myself. If anybody has met me in person, you guys know that. If you haven't, you will soon one day. I'm right around the corner, or maybe in your closet. I don't know. The bearded boogeyman. You know,
you're approaching creepy a lot more often lately in these episodes.
As we get closer to October, man, it's just something that naturally comes out about me. I don't know.
Yeah, the boogeyman. Well,
bearded boogeyman.
One thing you are correct about is that we do have a big guest on this week. We are excited to have Nathalie Chavez, the comics queen, on our show this week, whose love for comics has earned her a massive following on Instagram. We also have shirts. We are excited for the first time ever to offer some very special Spectales swag.
You know, and just like Taco Bell nacho fries, which, first of all, I'm not really excited about Taco Bell being here, but I mean, it gets the point across. Our Spectale swag is only going to be available for a limited time, September 7th through the 21st. That's it.
And once they're gone, they're gone. They're going into the vault. We're not bringing this design back. Maybe we'll do some other designs, but this one is going to go into the vault for an undetermined amount of time. We are going to have two kinds of shirts. First one is the one we've been posting about on social media. It is a baseball style t-shirt with 3/4 quarter length sleeves. The other one is going to be your standard t-shirt, and both will feature our brand new Spectales mascot, JJ, the Spectales Tater Tot. He is absolutely adorable. I mean, cool.
Orders will be open for 2 weeks, closing on September 21st. Once orders are closed, the shirts will be printed and shipped out to all buyers.
And it'll take about 2 weeks or so from when the orders close to when the orders are actually printed and actually fulfilled. So you should expect those in early October. We also have a special announcement for all our Scarce Army Patreon members out there. As you know, every month we randomly select one Patreon supporter and send them a very special AOK filled with some awesome comics and collectibles. We are excited to announce that for the remainder of 2022, every Scarce Army AOK will include one of these new special JJ t-shirts. The August AOK recipient, Chris Hacker from the Oblivion Bar podcast, already received his shirt, and from what we can tell, he seems to be enjoying it. Chris, thank you for the shout out on social media. We always appreciate when you talk about our show, but we're glad you're really liking the shirt.
So check the link in the show notes or head over to our Twitter, Instagram pages to find the link to get the shirt for yourself. They're available right now as you're listening.
And if you're still having trouble finding the link, just email us at spectalespodcast@gmail.com and we'll make sure we get you sorted.
Man, Jake, I can't believe this. I'm about to say this. I'm really proud of you, man. I know how much you hate getting too sales pitchy.
Yeah, but honestly, I feel like we actually folded the sales part of that in there really nicely. I thought it was really smooth. It wasn't over the top or overly done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what are we selling? We're selling awesome t-shirts with JJ on it. I mean, come on now.
Exactly. So now that the sales pitch part is absolutely done and over with, let's get to the episode already. So don't forget to go grab your super special limited edition JJ the Spectales Tater Tot t-shirt and remember to tell your friends. This is episode 58.
The
this is a conspiracy. That's what this is.
Just begging to course its way through your veins.
Let's just for a moment speculate, shall we?
You're into comic books, aren't you?
I'm a nerd.
But you do like comic books.
Comic books aren't just for sad nerds anymore.
You think we need one more?
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
You think we need one more?
Objection, calls for speculation, move to strike.
This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea.
All right, we'll get one more.
Spectators, a comic book podcast with Jake and Jesus.
What's up? We're back again for another episode of Spectales, and this week, Jesus and I are being joined by comic reader, collector, and influencer. She also attended the San Diego Comic-Con this year as a member of the Shortbox team, appearing on the A to Z collecting panel. I am, of course, talking about Nathalie Chavez, the comics queen. Nat, thank you for joining us.
Hi, nice to be here. Excited. Thanks for asking me to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. We're really excited to have you. You're a big reader. That's why I follow you. You have a lot of great picks as far as what to read and things of that nature. So thank you for joining us. We're super excited to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're pretty excited about this. I really am actually very interested in your time at San Diego Comic-Con as somebody who's never been to it before. Was that your first time being there, or had you been there before?
No, it was my first time. I actually never thought I was going to get to go to San Diego Comic-Con. The con I probably was looking forward to go to the most was New York Comic-Con.
Oh.
San Diego to me was always more like pop culture, more than comic, based.
Yep.
But I got the opportunity to be there, and it was amazing.
That's great. And then, so your first time there, you actually are also on a panel to talk about collecting, which is even cooler, right, than just walking the halls.
Yeah, that was the reason I got to go. Like, I was invited to be on this panel, and I was like, yes, like, I'll be there.
That's really cool. Well, congratulations on that. How did the panel go? I mean, did you guys get a lot of questions? And I know you had mentioned earlier that it might have been talking a little bit about speculating, and sometimes speculation gets it divides the comic community. So how was that?
No, yeah, definitely. I was surprised that there was even people that showed up, honestly. Like, I didn't even think there was anyone was gonna show up. And there was people there, and it was like they wanted to hear what we had to say. And it was great just getting to talk about something that I love so much. And usually I'm a very introverted, shy person. Never would I have thought to be on a panel, but, just focusing on, hey, this is something that I love doing. This is something that I know about. I wasn't scared to be up there. It felt very natural. It felt like I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah. Well, you're passionate about it.
It was great. And then even better, like right after the panel, this reporter from BBC came up to me and said she wanted to do an interview for BBC with me. And I was just like, wow, like, this is great.
I think that's really cool. And I understand the whole introverted thing. Actually, I think it's always weird that I do a podcast because I am not get on camera or talk to people. It just became very interesting when Jesus and we just started as just friends, calling each other on the phone, talking back and forth. And he was like, we should do a podcast. I was like, I don't think I can do a podcast. And he was like, we'll just record our conversations and then we'll put it out there. You don't have to see anybody. And I was like, oh, we'll give it a try.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm the same way. I don't like being in front of the camera. I don't have social media personally. I just have it for my comic book stuff, and I try not to be on there as much. I have a face made for radio, as I like to say. And, in my previous work, when I was working at a financial institution, I used to have to get in front of a ton of people and do a lot of presentations. And man, it would take me back to, middle school, high school, getting in front of the class and stuff. I hated it. I just hate being in front of people. So at least for me, this is something that I'm able to do because I don't feel people are looking at me right now and they're just listening to my voice. So that's why I think it was a compromise for us to do a podcast, because we just wanted to talk comic books and kind of talk to people in the community. And through this thing, for the past year, we've met a ton of awesome people.
Yeah, both collectors and creators.
I think I would do great as a video though. Yeah, I should try to do YouTube or something.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate that. And we certainly have considered it, but honestly, we've been very focused on this show right now. But this show, we talk about ourselves in this show all the time. Let's go back. I want to get back to, so you are on Instagram as the Comics Queen, and you have quite a massive following. You have some of the best merch I've seen when it comes to comic collecting stuff. Your merch is fantastic because it's all unique and it's so, I don't know, it just has its own vibe and its own style that I really enjoy. And so how did that all begin? Do you mind taking us back a little bit on this?
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't something I like planned to do. I didn't really plan to grow this big. Honestly, I just wanted a place to talk about comics and just showcase my comics. So, I would have my personal Instagram, and I realized I started posting a lot about comic books, weekly, like, oh, look at this book, or, I just finished reading this. And it just felt like my friends and family were getting a little annoyed. So I was like, I should probably separate, just create a new account. And I did. And somehow, the community just finds each other. It might have been through hashtags or, just the algorithm itself. And I ended up finding this IG comic family. And from there, it was just like, wow, there's other people like me. There's other people that collect. There's other people that are reading. And it was great just coming across that and being able to share, the same hobby.
Yeah. Again, not to relate everything back to us, but the IG comic community, IG comic family is literally how I met Jesus. Because we were not friends until we met through Instagram, which sounds like a weird dating app scenario, but it's not. That's not it. We just both really enjoyed comics, and then we just started DMing each other on Instagram, and then of course at one point it was like, listen, this is way too long for DMs. Can I just call you? And then we just started talking. So it was a fun scenario, but I completely understand and relate to that, and just in general the comic community on Instagram, once you get into that mix, there's so many people of all different walks of life on there, and it's pretty incredible. Plus, you get to see a lot of really awesome books that you don't normally see in the real world.
Yeah, there's books I've seen on Instagram that I don't think I've ever seen in person, and if I did see in person, I'd probably melt, man. Like some high grade or some very rare, some very scarce stuff, if you will.
Shut up. Stupid word. So Nat, so you've got the Instagram, you've got your relationship with Shortboxed, and I guess where you headed with it all? Is it just free flowing and you're just taking it where it goes?
Yeah, honestly, like I said, I didn't expect it to get this big. I wanted to just have a place to talk about what I love, to just share my passion, and I would just post. I would post, and then I would get likes, and then I got 1,000 followers. I got 5,000 followers. I was just like, oh my goodness. And then earlier this year, I hit my 10,000 follower mark, and that I never thought that was going to happen. And it was interesting, just that many people would want to hear what I have to say. And I still view it that way, because I know a lot of, because I've gotten a lot of negative comments, or, people saying, oh, well, it's because you're a female in this, industry or whatever. So I understand why it might be, or why people think it might be easier because I am, a female. But honestly, like, I try to be more like, I feel like people really do like to hear what I have to say, especially when it comes to like reviews, because I do get a lot of positive comments as well, where people are like, because of you, I picked up the series, or because of you, I got back into collecting. And that's what kind of keeps me going. That's what I like doing. That's why I keep doing what I am doing. A lot of times I did want to stop and delete my Instagram, because it was just exhausting. It does take a lot of time, like whether you like you don't realize how much time it takes until you really stop and like look back. I get like lots of messages like daily, and it is exhausting trying to just, because you're forming relationships, like I mentioned, this Instagram community, like you're forming friendships and relationships, and it's hard because like you still have to keep up with these people as well, and it is exhausting. And it's social media though, but eventually, I don't know, you learn to manage it all.
Yeah. And
yeah, I mean, I can only imagine, man. I just have to keep up with Jake's DMs, and there's just so many of them from him, and I'm just like, I can only imagine with how many you get. But one thing I did want to ask or maybe just highlight, like your series that you've been doing with the chat with Nat, which, by the way, I think that's an awesome title for it, because you're just talking, and you just recently had one with a friend of the show, Adriana. Adriana was on our show a few months ago, I believe. But I like a thing that you do, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about this too, where you give a lot of stuff back to the community as well. You do a lot of like giveaways, and you do them in a fun way too, which I mentioned to Jake, kind of a way that we need to kind of figure out how to do more of it, because we want to give back to the community as well. We do a little bit of it, but in yours, you do something where it's like the first person who messages X will get, these free books. And I just think that's so cool, because you're getting people involved, and you're also giving away at the same time while they're there listening to you talk to another person in the community. So I just wanted to highlight that if you guys haven't seen that, you could go check it out. But then also you're going to want to speak to that little series that you got going in the chat with Matt.
No, yeah. A lot of times, like publishers or writers will reach out to me, and they want their book to get more,
publicity.
How do you call it? Yeah. So they'll offer to maybe like do a giveaway or something like that too, and I'm all for it. But then I'm behind too. Like I was supposed to do this Predator giveaway forever ago, and I still haven't ran it. Same when I always like tell people like, oh, I'm gonna give this away, but like I never really know how to do it. And like today on the live, I was like, I'm just gonna do it. Like whoever comments this or whatever, because it is fun giving back, because a lot of people have given to me, and it's a continuous cycle.
Yeah, that's that community again. Once you get embedded in it, it keeps giving to you, so you got to keep giving back, and it's a vicious cycle of giving, honestly.
It is. And you ask like where I see myself, or like where I see it going. And honestly, like I don't know. Like Instagram is just changing so much. Like recently, they added their reels. Yep. So that's been changing the face of Instagram a lot. So now it's like I've been posting more reels. Now I get paid for posting reels. So like there's that. Recently, like 2 days ago, I got a notification for branding. So now they'll pair me with brands. So I thought that was interesting that they're doing that through Instagram. Huh. And then earlier this month too, they launched their subscription. So now you can subscribe to people through Instagram. So like now I have a subscription through my Instagram. So it's I don't know, like it's getting a little crazy.
A little, yeah. There's a lot to it.
There's a lot happening.
Would you say the subscription thing, is that like kind of like a Patreon sort of thing, just built into it? Interesting. That is,
like you set a monthly charge, and then you can like your post, or you can do posts, reels, lives, stories, whatever, that it's only going to be subscription only views.
Oh,
stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool. Well, I just wanted to get a little bit of background on you before we jump into the meat and potatoes of this show. And for everybody out there who are new listeners, we do 3 basic segments on this show. We kick everything off with a recent pickup segment where we're each going to go around the horn, and we're going to talk about something that we've recently picked up, read, any collectible, any of those. And then we go into the Grail Tale segment, which is where we're going to ask Nat here to tell us her Grail Tale, which can be anything to do with a book or collectible that she holds precious and dear. And then we close every single episode with comic book speculation, because a lot of our listeners are individuals that want to help the hobby pay for itself. So we want to talk about at least one thing that maybe you should go and do a double look at. Maybe you overlooked it once before, or maybe everybody's overlooking it and you need to get it. So that's what we're going to do. Let's roll right into that first segment.
Recent pickups.
All right, the recent pickup segment. Hey, Zeus, would you like to do the honors?
Sure, man. I'll get it started. I'm only here. I'm going to be very modest in my description of this. This has been called the greatest trade ever. I haven't called it that. It's been called that. But I had a huge trade this past weekend at a local convention.
Nobody said that.
There's people saying that, Jake. There's people saying, I don't know who's saying it, but there's people saying that. Somebody specifically told me, hey, this is better than Jake's trade. I forgot the person's name, but I won't say them right here. I won't call them out like that. But I ended up trading a Batman 635 in a 9.8 because I have a double of it. So I just wanted to get rid of it, and I traded it. I traded it for some cash and 3 books. 2 of those books were my brother's. I think it was like ASM. Oh, man, I forgot what it was, but it has Juggernaut. No, not Juggernaut on the cover. It has some other guy that looks like Juggernaut on the cover. But they were like small, like $20, $25 books. 2 of them. But they were 9.8 contenders. And then I got this book that I've been trying to get for a while. I really like this series. I put Jake onto this series. But this is the 1 in 50, 8 Billion Genies #1. With the cat on it. It's real glittery.
Wait, what's the variant? What's the run? 1 in how many?
This is 1 in 50. So this is the 1 in 50, #1. I have the 1 in 25, the curse words. I have the 1 in 10. Then I have #1. So eventually what I'm going to try to do is, I don't know, this is my little way in my head, I guess, to try to get the 1 in 100.
Yeah,
I think, which is a Trish Forrester. What is it? Mario homage that with the yellow cover. That's the one that I really want. But I don't know. This one's growing on me too, because I really didn't know that it was like glitter on it until I saw it up close.
Is it real glitter?
I think it is. I didn't even want to touch it, man. But it's just the letters, and then the cat have the glitter on it, not the whole background, which I think is pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. Who's the cover by?
Yeah.
You have that?
I don't have that info, man, but I'll get it for you. But yeah, man, people are saying this is the greatest trade ever, better than Incredible Hulk 181. They just think that this is way better because it has a cat on it. Who am I to argue, Jake?
I'm going to go ahead and say it's definitely not better than the 181 trade. But you know what? I'm not going to poo-poo on your parade. Congrats on the trade. I mean, it's a solid B trade for sure. That's a B plus work.
I can't believe that you are going against some of our listeners saying that this is the greatest trade ever.
Not one of our listeners has said that at all. Stop it. I think you're making Nat uncomfortable. All right.
No, she would agree. You agree, right? This is like the greatest trade ever, right? Because it has a cat on it, right? Yeah. See, she said yes.
It's a good trade.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that, Nat. All right, Nat, would you?
If it makes you happy, that's all that matters.
Yeah. See, she's got it right. Well, it doesn't have to be a competition, Jesus. Nat, do you have a recent pickup to discuss?
I'm thinking about it because like all my recent pickups are like books. Like this is actually my pickups like this Wednesday.
Oh,
so I'm thinking about either talking about some series that I've read that I'm really, really enjoying, or maybe my CGC books that just came back. So I don't know, because I've been waiting on these books for like a year, and it was crazy.
And how many did you submit?
Like 5.
Well, let's talk about those. Do you mind?
Okay. I'll show you those. Yeah. They're not like all that. But... So these came back like a couple weeks ago. I barely opened them up. Okay, so I'm really disappointed in these because they came back 9.6, both of them. And this is the Die #1, like Virgin exclusive #1. This is the black cover.
Yeah, that's a nice cover.
Oh, that's a tough cover.
Yeah, this is, oh my God, I love it. I got these raw around the time that like Die first came out and stuff. I was a huge fan of Die, and it's a fantastic story if you haven't read it yet. But I ended up getting these two, and I swear they were just like near mint, fantastic condition. Like even for it being like a dark cover, it was just, I was just like, I need to submit these. And yeah, they came back 9.6, and I'm really disappointed because I don't know why.
Yeah, that's always tough. But I mean, with that cover being so dark, I know those things, the black covers tend to get ticks on them, but man, that is tough.
These
And that's
are perfect.
they're
Like,
perfect.
They,
No, I believe
I
you.
can't even begin to like I didn't even touch these. I didn't even open them. Like they are, even if you look at the spine is there's no ticks,
And
not even one. Like they're perfect.
Of course,
So
you
I don't
probably
know.
didn't have any notes with it either. Were there any graders notes?
I haven't checked. Honestly, I'm still a little bummed.
And those are limited to 800 copies, right? From artist Stephanie Hans, which Stephanie Hans has some really cool covers too. I think I have a what is it? Black Knight. The curse. I forgot the curse covers. I don't remember what they're called, but there's like a collection of covers from her. So she's a fantastic artist. That's a really cool cover on that one.
She is. She does like the watercolor kind of style.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So another book or another couple of books that I had submitted were these sagas. So I'm a huge saga fan, and I have well, they come and go, but I think right now I have 3 raw copies. I had 5, so I ended up submitting 2, which I thought were my best, 9.8 contenders, and one came back 9.8.
Hey,
so
nice,
very nice.
That was great. But this one came back 9.4.
Oh,
I know, and
another really tough book to get in high grade, by the way.
Yeah, because it's white cover. I understand, but if you see there's like black color rub, and I was really upset because I'm telling you, these were 9.8s. Like, there's no way I would have submitted this with this.
With that,
like, there's no way.
I recently submitted a saga 1 that I thought was a 9.8, and it came back at an 8.5. So
okay. I'll check my 9.4.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?"
Oh.
And my presser thought it was he said, "Yeah, I got to shot a 9.8." He thought it was a 9.6, and then when it came back 8.5, he's like, "Dude, I'll pay to get it resubmitted because there's no way." I go, "Man, they probably like dinged it on the way up there or something." So I have an 8.5 saga now.
Yeah, and I will even admit, Jesus, you're a much better grader than that. You know how to grade a book before you submit it in. It's very rare that you're too far off. Usually I'm more generous. I'm like, oh, that's a 9.8. And you're like, yeah, I don't know. But
what's a 9.9?
Yeah.
You're giving 9.9s left and right.
I have a lot of 9.9s in my collection. Not officially graded, but in my eyes they are. And okay, so Saga as well, another really difficult book. Saga number 1 to get graded in 9.8. So congrats on the one that you got. And the 9.4, of course, beauty of a book. The difference is super minuscule, but I understand how that can be really just heartache, for sure. I already see the one you have sitting right next to you. Are you going to talk about that one?
Yeah, so this one was the most surprising because honestly, this one I thought was going to be maybe a 9.2, 9.6, like maybe like I would have been happy with, like I would have been ecstatic with. But it came back a 9.8, and that was just okay. I guess it makes up for Saga, but that's it's just Spider-Verse number 2, first appearance of Spider-Gwen. Yes. And this book right here is my daughter. So this was like a birthday gift for my daughter from one of my close friends. And he gave it, he gave it to me, to give to her raw. Whenever, Into the Spider-Verse, when it came out, of course, just like any kid, became really obsessed with Miles and stuff. And, she really liked Gwen, like a lot. So this was gifted to her, and I'm really happy to like hold this for her, and
Yeah.
one day
that's
give
really
it to
cool.
her and she can do whatever she wants with it.
I really like the Spider-Gwen character as well. I think that there's a lot of upwards, a lot of, possibilities to what to do with that character. And I'm surprised it took so long for us to get to something like that, where they take Gwen Stacy or somebody, one of the more pre-existing Spider-Man characters, but just reverse the roles, different universe kind of thing. So I really like that. And the movie really, I could see why, you watch that movie, Spider-Gwen, she's a badass in the movie. She saves the day multiple times. So I could definitely see that. And that's a badass book to have in a 9.8.
Well, I mean, overall, it was a fantastic movie. I remember watching that week it came out, watching that like so many, like maybe like, oh, okay, it wasn't like that much, but like 3 times that week it came out. And I was just so like just amazed at how well written it was and just how well done overall. And one of the times when I showed it to my kids, I was just like this is going to be something that's going to stay with them forever. Like, they're going to be like mind blown.
It
and
really
then were.
is good. And the soundtrack for that movie is so good.
Yeah. Overall, it was amazing.
It still holds up. Not that it's that old, but it still holds up. All right, well, I'll move on into my recent pickup, and so this is one that I saw. I went into my LCS last week to pick up just my weekly pull list stuff, and I saw this in the case. It was new, and it was something that, weirdly enough, it was a book I always wanted, never had. It's not exactly something I'm chasing after to get in a really high grade, but it was something where the moment I saw it, I was like, why the hell don't I have that already? I was like, I better just get this book. So this is a Watchmen #1 of 12. So I'm a fan of the movie, fan of the original series, of course, and I've read it so many times. I just like the characters. I'd never owned a #1 on this. And now I've gotten, I think I have 2 or 3 copies of the actual graphic novel all put together, but I never owned a copy of #1. This is not a great copy. It's probably a very fine copy. I mean, it's not great. It's got dings all over it, but I just never had it. And this was super cheap in the store. So it's kind of like when something like I probably could have found it on eBay years ago, but it's like when it presents itself to you in the store, like when you weren't expecting it. And I was like, yeah, I'll buy that. So I got it for a really good price. And we haven't talked about Watchmen. I'm not sure we've talked about Watchmen on here before, Jesus, but in general, it's one of my favorites to just go to reads when I just want to like veg out and read a book, but not a new one. I'll revisit that.
We talked about Alan Moore a little bit past couple weeks, but we haven't name dropped Watchmen specifically, I guess.
Yeah.
But I just think it's cool that they made, obviously, the movie. The movie's a good. I like the movie. Some people didn't like it. I enjoyed it. But then the HBO series I thought was really cool and different. And it just sucks that, I don't know, it looks like we might not get any more of that anytime soon.
I think it was probably too expensive. I think they said it was one of the most expensive series HBO had produced at the time. And yet Game of Thrones wasn't brought up, but maybe just based on its viewers, the viewership, it just didn't do the numbers. But I really like that series too. I even enjoyed a majority of the Before Watchmen series that they did. I mean, it wasn't perfect. The Ozzy series, I can never say his full name, Ozymandias.
There you go.
I'll edit that out. But that series was badass. I think there were 6 books in that. I think that was like 2011. Those were great. But
I have it. I have the like the main one Before Watchmen, but I don't have those like offshoots.
Did they collect them all into one book? Do you know?
I don't know, man. I picked it up in actually, I'm gonna be honest with you. I picked it up twice in 2 separate collections. One of them is the A covers, and one of them is the variants. I didn't even know they were variants.
Yeah,
but it's all of them through variants, and I'm like, man, what is this?
There's some good variants.
I haven't read it, man. But now you're saying it's pretty good. Well, you said the offshoot is right, so I gotta look for the offshoot then.
Yep, definitely worth it. Nat, are you a fan of The Watchmen?
Yeah, I mean, I think I watched the movie before I read it. One of my friends had gifted me the absolute, but of course I had read it digitally like years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, the absolute. But I think it kind of holds up to the comic, like the movie. I know a lot of people didn't like it, like Kisu said. The show, we started it. Ooh, I never finished it.
It was a dense series. I'll give it that. Like it didn't let you know where it was going ever. I remember just being so frustrated after, I think it was like episode 2. I was like, what the hell is happening in this show? Like they don't tell you anything until like the very last episode.
There's so many threads and it was a slow burn and then so much stuff throwing you off. But I definitely felt the same way. I was frustrated at the beginning of it, but then at the end, I was like, "Oh man, this is really good."
Yeah, and I was a big fan of the movie as well. But a friend of mine insisted I read the comic before the movie came out. I remember specifically, it was a comic friend, who was like, "You haven't read it yet?" I was like, "No, I never got around to it." And he was like, "You are not allowed to see the movie until you read it." And he gave me my first copy of the book. He just went out and bought one. And he handed it to me. It was a guy I worked with. And he was like, "You have to read it." And since we were going to go see the movie together, I did. And I'm really glad I did because there is some shots from that movie that are just taken directly out of the book. Mm-hmm. So I'm so glad that I read that book before watching that movie. But that'll do it for this segment of recent pickups. And though it's not a competition, I'm going to go ahead and give this one to Nat because those slabs, I mean, those 9.8s and even with the 9.4, the 9.4 almost brought you down to second place, Nat, but I'm going to give you first place in this one. And I'll take second place because my book is really cool. And Jesus, that was a hell of a trade. Hey, I mean,
so I'm okay with third place here. I'm okay with third place here as long as it's still the greatest trade ever. So I'm okay with that. And putting your trade in second, Jake. Your trade is second now. It's okay. No worries.
If you ain't first, you're last. All right, but that brings us to our next segment.
Grail Tale. Grail Tale. Grail Tale. Grail Tale. Grail Tale.
The Grail Tale segment. Nat, this is the one where we kind of sit back and we let you make of it what you will. So I'm just going to turn the mic over to you.
Okay. Like I mentioned before the show, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I don't have like a really big story or anything, but my grow is this.
Oh, wow.
Man. And it's Showcase 22 in a 4.0.
Yep.
Yeah, this is so in case you don't know, or in case people don't know, I'm a huge Green Lantern fan.
Yep.
Like I'm a huge Hal Jordan specifically. And this is a book that I always wanted, but you know, I never saw myself as like having like really high end expensive books. Even getting into the Silver Age of collecting is, you know, it's really pricey. But this was one on my list for like a long time. I ended up finding, I mean, I was always looking at copies, but I ended up finding a copy on eBay that seemed like a good price. We ended up chatting about it and taking it off of eBay, you know, kind of like, hey, can we do this transaction somewhere else? It's always scary, you know, doing that because you don't know the person and stuff. But when I was emailing him, I saw that he had like DDS, like he was like a dentist. So I was like, okay, in case something goes wrong, like I know where to find him. Like I have your name, your dentist name. I'll go to your office. But no, he was just saying he was like a comic collector and he was just trying to like get rid of some books that he had because he was trying to, I don't know if he said he was moving to a new house or I don't know what. But yeah, I decided to pull the trigger and I'm glad I did. And I'm really happy with the 4.0, honestly. If I ever get a chance to get one in a higher grade, I'll probably just try to buy that one separately. But I don't think this is the book I'll ever trade or sell. 4 is like my favorite number, so I don't know. This 4.0 is like
it presents really well. You got it raw?
No. I bought it graded.
Okay, so it was graded.
Yeah.
And then how long ago did you get it?
This was maybe like 3 years ago.
Oh man, so you beat the comic boom of the
No.
pandemic.
It was like 2019. Yeah, like 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so just before the explosion of the all the numbers, everything went up. And even though things are a little down now, everything is still way above where they were even in 2019, which I still find interesting because people are like, "Oh, the market's down." It's like, did you see the market before? You're still up. So
yeah. Like looking back, I'm like, man, I should have just pulled the trigger on way more books 3 years ago, even just 3 years ago.
But that's a great book. That's like a big book. I mean, there's no way around it. That's a big book. I mean, it's I'm glad for you. If that's your favorite character, you actually, because when we talk about DC and we've talked about DC on this podcast, like it's sometimes you're priced out of stuff immediately, right? Like you can't get Batman #1, you can't get, Superman. All of those books are so old and they're so expensive. That book that you have there is still something that's attainable, that hasn't been vaulted or made into the Hall of Fame yet. Like, as we like to say, that it's still attainable for a lot of collectors. And, it's funny because again, I'm sure you got a lot of this too. That's why I think you changed your name, but people would think that you were the DC comic queen, right? So,
yeah.
So that's why I also thought that maybe you picked that and that you're a big DC fan. But that's not the case. But even though this is the Green Lantern, so I didn't know that Green Lantern was your favorite character. So can you tell us a little bit about when you started liking Green Lantern and what you like about him?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's why I picked this as my Grail too, because honestly, like now I have way more expensive books, and I have I started dipping my toes into Golden Age now. So there's another Grail book that I have, but if I really think about it, like when people ask me, like, when I'm on shows and stuff, like, what's your Grail book? It's always going to go to this one. Like my head always goes straight to this one because, like I mentioned, Hal Jordan, he's my favorite character. And just, I guess what got me into collecting was Green Lantern. It was around 2009. So it was Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing. Like I'm really biased on this, but it was honestly like one of the greatest works I had read like at the time. And especially from like a superhero, because I mean, everyone likes Batman, and of course Batman's one of my favorite superheroes, or people can like Superman, or I don't know, but to me, Hal Jordan was like there was something about him that made me just like want to be like him. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like when I first learned about like the power rings, like the whole willpower thing of it all, it's kind of like something that I feel I never really had in my life. So it's like the way he just kind of like acted without thinking was always the kind of person that I wanted to be in life, So like I looked up to him in that aspect.
I think that's great. And yeah, so much of this is about when you come into and what you connect to and relate to when you're reading. And some of the earliest stuff you read is going to be the most impactful. I'll get it, not arguments, but when people say, "Oh, what's the best Batman run?" And it's not that I've read every Batman run. I've read some. There's a lot of Batman out there. But one of the first runs I literally read from end to end was Scott Snyder's New 52. And I will defend that to the death. I love Scott Snyder's New 52. Not everybody does. It's not everybody's Batman, but that one's my Batman because it was really the first one I read and connected to. Even though I just didn't get into Batman in the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s. So that was mine. And I completely connect with you on that. But as far as connecting to Hal Jordan and the Lanterns, that is one of the things. Like, there's a lot of comparisons between Marvel and DC. I don't see a comparison to Green Lantern. Who is the Marvel Green Lantern? They don't have a Lantern Corps. Like, that is just, you can have a Superman style character, you can have a Batman style character, right? Iron Man or whomever, but there isn't that character.
I think you could say the closest to would probably be like the Nova Corps, but they're more of a like still the police kind of a galaxy protecting thing, where the Green Lantern still has like the whole emotional spectrum to them.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
that Marvel doesn't.
You mentioned the Jeff Johns one, so you're talking about the Blackest Night, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about his entire run, like his whole 9-year run, like his entire Green Lantern run. But yes, Blackest Night is, so Blackest Night is what I started. So it was around 2009, around the time it started coming out. But I was just like, okay, like, what's this? So it made me want to dig more. And then I ended up starting, at the beginning with like Secret Origin and, all that. And honestly, it's the greatest run ever.
There's no bias there. And I will back you up. I will back you up because I've said it again on this podcast as well, and Jake talks about probably New 52 and American Vampire that got him back into reading.
Andy Redeemable. I love
Andy Redeemable. For me, it was Blackest Night. So I had, started and then I stopped for a while, yeah, exactly. Life got in the way, had kids, got married, all that. And then I was like, man, I love comic books. I always love comic books. Let's see what's out there. And I remember going there and seeing that #1 with the skull on it and all the rings. I was like, and it was, I guess it had been the month when it came out, because I wasn't into it as I am now. I didn't know what was going on. And I picked it up and I picked up a couple of the variants because I didn't know any better. And I just I'm just going to pick up, these are cool covers to me. And then I started reading it and I was like, oh man, this is a really, really cool run. And it was on my pull, like I got a pull list. I didn't know what a pull list was at that time. I got a pull list and I just put it in there and I read it, and I read all the offshoots, like all the different ones that connected to it. I had never done that before, and I had never thought that was, something that was cool or added to the story. But yeah. I definitely credit that run with bringing it back into comic books and getting back into reading them and collecting eventually. Because it took me, I think, 2 or 3 more years after that to start collecting. But yeah, so I definitely agree with you as far as, and I wouldn't say Green Lantern is one of my most favorite characters, but I mean, obviously I credit him with getting back into collecting, into comic books. So he's up there for sure. I just don't know where he's at. And maybe I need to go back and think about where he's at. Cause I also like Kyle Rayner too. Kyle Rayner, because of his background.
that look on her face. That's funny.
And like collecting wise, I think it did get me into collecting, because that was probably one of the first runs in its entirety that I collected, like single issues. Like I went back and I have every single issue for that entire run.
Yeah, I think I have all of them too, and all the variants too that I paid. Like I'm looking at them now, I paid way too much for them, but I don't know. I'm okay with them. I'm happy with them.
Something you said, Jesus, and I just have to ask, anybody else here remember when they got their first poll list? Did you guys think that you were like super special at the time? Like, oh man, they're putting my name on a list. That's cool. And they're I remember actually telling my wife, I was like, oh yeah, they gave me a folder. And she was like, why do you come here that much? And I was like, I don't know. They just said that they'd pull these books for me. And I just have to say my name. Like, I thought I was like a celebrity in that store for like 5 minutes until I realized they give a pull list to anybody willing to give them money. So,
well, for me, they played it differently. For me, I remember them saying, we'll give you a discount and we'll save it for you. They didn't say pull list. They said, I'm going to save it for you. And I was like, oh man, he's doing me a big favor. He's giving me a discount. He's going to save it for me. So I was like, yeah, dude, do it. Save it for me, man. I'll be here.
We actually didn't have an LCS until a couple years ago. So I ordered my books through Midtown for like years. So I always did that, and I would do pre-order, of course, like 3 months before. Mm-hmm. So I would say like for 30%. So that to me was worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and when your pull list is, you showed your stack from just today. That's a sizable stack. I mean, you're going to want to save 30% on that. Yeah, that's pretty. My pull list from today was really just a handful of books, so nothing crazy.
Well, it's because I'm behind though.
Oh, well, that happens a lot with comics. That's I think every comic reader's like dirty little secret is that we are all way behind on our reading list. Everybody
never stops. Like it never stops. It just keeps going every week.
You know, if they would just take one damn week off so I could read, catch up on my reading.
When the pandemic hit, I was actually really happy that they stopped shit me. Like the diamond like was behind. I was just like, thank God. Like now I can catch up. It was great.
the one positive in the pandemic was cars stopped driving, so the smog went away, and comic readers were able to read their books.
Catch up,
yeah. I actually read a ton during the pandemic. That's true.
Yeah, I do too. I gotta catch up, man. I think one of the ones I need to catch up on is Andre's book, Righteous Search for Vengeance.
Yes,
I'm not done with it. So.
Well worth catching up on. He said it best when we talked to him. He said it starts slow, but stick with it because holy shit. You'll say it. You're going to be reading it. You're going to be like, holy shit. And then you just keep turning the pages because it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I need to get on it, man.
Well, it's Rick, right? Rick Remender? Remender?
Rick Remender
is the writer. Yeah. So is that Skybound? Is that who's publishing that?
Oh, yeah. But it's through Image.
Through Image, yeah. But the imprint is Skybound.
Yeah.
I think because I think they were the ones who did Ultra Mega as well, which is still one of my favorite books from the last couple of years. But that's for another day. All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing. I think that's a very worthy Grail tale, and that's also a Grail that we have not talked about yet on this show. So
we haven't had that one on.
We had to collect that one. So thank you very much. That actually will roll us into our final segment of the day. Speculation. That's right, the speculation segment. This one will make some collectors cringe, but we love to do it every week. Where we're going to talk about, each one of us is going to throw out one book that we think, book or collectible or something that might be undervalued and that some of our listeners might want to check out or go listen into. So, hey, Zeus, why don't you kick us off?
All right. Well, I'm glad Nat talked about Edge of Spider-Verse and Spider-Verse movie because this has to do with it. I'm kind of going to build it in. So as we both know, or as we all know, I'm sorry, Kang is a big villain of the MCU going forward.
Who?
And then also Kang the Conqueror, Jake. Do you not know who that is? Do you know go back and read those books?
Is he coming to the MCU?
No, he's not. He's just a very good character.
Oh, good.
And then also that's on the MCU side, on the Marvel side. On the Sony side, you have Spider-Man 29 coming out in the next Spider-Verse. What is it? Spider-Verse 2, I think it's called. They're calling it.
Yeah.
So this is a deep cut. So there's some speculation here. It's a $5 book, maybe a $10 book, but it has potential. So I'm talking about the one and only first appearance of Spider-Man 2211. Not 2099, 2211, who's also called a time spinner.
I didn't even know this existed.
Well, there you go, Jake. There you go. Deep cuts only. Kang goes through time. Spider-Man 2099 on the Sony side. What can bring these two guys together? Spider-Man 2211. He comes out, the first appearance in a book called Spider-Man 2099 Meets Spider-Man. It's from 1995. The writer is Peter David and the artist is Rick Leonardi. It also has another first appearance on there, which is the first appearance of Hobgoblin 2211, which is actually the daughter of Max Bourne. So yeah, deep cut, time spinner Spider-Man that can weave webs of time, go through time for Kang and also for Spider-Man 2099. That's my speculation pick. It's a $5 book. It's kind of rare, actually. I wouldn't say it's on the level of scarce yet, but it's not as easy to find.
It's probably rare simply just because, I mean, it's not like there's no call for this book. Nobody's putting it on eBay, right? Like you want to go find it, go to the basement of your LCS. They probably have it stored down there. It's a little musty, but if you press clean it, it'll be fine.
Looking this book up, I just thought it was funny too, because like you said, Spider-Man 2211. And I haven't seen that happen anymore. Like that was something that people did back then. Oh, the Spider-Man of the future. Well, if we did it now, what would it be? Spider-Man 3220 or something, or 3099, 3085, or what would it be at this point?
It would be cooler to do Spider-Man 1920, right?
That's Spider-Man Noir.
Oh yeah. See, I'd much rather go backwards. What about Spider-Man in the Middle Ages?
Oh man, there's a Spider Knight.
There's a Spider Knight?
Yeah.
I am not versed in my Spider-Mandom, I guess.
Well, I remember watching Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends or whatever, the Spider-Man series, and with Madam Web, and I think there was a Spider Knight.
I remember Madam Web. Yeah, but that was towards the end of the show, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was okay, I suppose. That was neat. Thanks, Jesus. Nat.
Deep cuts.
Nat, I am excited for this one because you always have such good advice on your channel, on your IG. So I don't mean to put pressure on you. No pressure. But what do you got?
I mean, this is a hard one because I'm not a speculator. Like I'm not. I just, I talk about what I like, and I want other people to like it too. So it's not really like a spec because of movies coming out or something like that. It's just because something that I could see it become something in the future. But it would probably be this one, Nice House on the Lake.
I love that series.
Mm-hmm.
That might actually be my favorite Tinian series that's going right now.
Yes. Well, I don't know if it's my favorite, but yeah, I don't know. I see this book being something. So that would be my speculation pick.
I think that's a great one. I think that it definitely would lend itself well to a TV series. I could see somebody picking that up, that being some sort of HBO Max series or limited series or something like that, where they just do 10 episodes or something like that. And I think it would be great. It's a great storyline. And it's got me on the monthly, every time it comes out, I want to read. It's on, that one. There are a few books that move their way up. The reason the list or the stack is so tall is because something always circumvents it, right? And then other stuff just gets stuck down there. And at some point you're like, oh, I forgot to read that 2 months ago. So
that's a great book. Yeah, I really like that book. I've enjoyed that series so far as well. I don't have a 9.8 though, but I need to get one. But I know I have.
And they're very people are selling them. One of my friends posted a 9A for like $60, and I was like, I would hold on to that one. And he's like, well, I already have like 2 other copies, and I'm like, oh, okay. But right now, it's not like, I don't know, like people aren't looking for it,
Yeah, the series is just all of his books. Just I don't know why they're just must reads though, right? They have to.
They are.
So I'm a big fan of those. Ultimately, I think that is of the series. Well, Something is Killing the Children is already been optioned by Netflix, and they're working on that apparently. But I would say this one is a very high likelihood of somebody's going to do something with it. It's just too good of a story.
It really is. Honestly, though, there's like one more issue left.
Yep.
I don't see how it's gonna wrap up.
That is the interesting part because there's a lot. There's a lot of questions.
I feel like we haven't even gotten close to what he has kind of like showed us.
Yeah, they set up a lot of mystery going on, and still just unless the whole last book is just all answers. Just every page is just answers to questions that you have.
Like he hasn't even explained the symbols yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. And
so I don't know. Maybe he's gonna like do a part 2.
I haven't heard if that's in the works or not, or if that's something you don't know, right? Like I mean, I could see there being room for that, but I don't know. I thought this was just kind of a standalone series, all on its own. So I
mean, you expanded something that's killing the children.
Yeah, that's true. Which actually is one of those things where the first arc was amazing. The second arc is good, but not nearly as good as the first one. And I wonder if it was never meant to be, and he's just making it continue, or how that works. And is Nice House on the Lake going to suffer from the same fate? I hope not.
Are you talking about like the continuation of something that's killing the children, or like his House of Slaughter spinoff series?
No, I'm talking about the continuation of something that's killing. Yeah, I still like it. And I do like it better. I still enjoy it more than I'm enjoying House of Slaughter. Although House of Slaughter is still on the poll list, still reading it, and I'm still digging it. Did you drop it? Yeah, it's still something I'm reading, but ultimately, it's both of them are underwhelming compared to. I was really into like the first 14 issues of Something Is Killing the Children. Those were incredible to me.
It was something.
Yeah. So I guess we can hop over to my spec book. Jesus, you and I kind of talked about this a little bit. This could be a stretch, but there was some what I will consider to be slightly underreported. There was an exclusive over at Giant Freaking Robot. The Michael B. Jordan is returning for multiple Marvel projects. So the story goes on to say it's not really. It says exclusive, but it's not like solidified by Marvel. Like Marvel hasn't come out and corroborated this story, so that's why maybe it's not getting as much publicity. But it sounds like, I mean, if Giant Freaking Robot went. If they, went live with it, if they published it, and they're saying that it's an exclusive story, I think that there could be some weight to it. They're saying that he is going to reappear as Killmonger in Wakanda Forever, and they're doing multiple projects. So it's not just this one. So because I was thinking, oh, maybe it'd be like a flashback or something like that. They might just flash back to the scene. Or of him. But if he's doing multiple Marvel projects, which they're alluding to, there's already 2 in the works, and that doesn't include the Wakanda Forever appearance, that to me says that they might be moving forward with that character as the replacement, right, for Black Panther. And I know there's tons and tons of speculation, and people are pretty sure that Shuri is going to be the Black Panther, but there is a line from the teaser trailer that continues to just ring in my head where T'Challa's mother, Shuri's mother, she's giving this big heartfelt speech, and she says that her entire family is gone. She says she's lost her entire family in the speech, in the trailer. And it would be weird. Why would she say she lost her whole family if Shuri is still around? Right? Now, some have said that maybe the speech is taken from a different point in time. Like maybe it took place during the blip, and that they'd been blipped away, and that speech is from that moment. So that's completely possible. Or does Shuri pick up the mantle, and does Shuri get killed by the Submariner? Or or at least thought to be killed by the Submariner, and they have no other recourse but to turn to Killmonger and to ask for because he would be the next in line. I mean, he is still family. He is still with it. I mean, he is a part of the royal family, so he would have a right to it, whether or not they wanted him to or not. So, I mean, that was a big part of the first movie. Anyway, so my speculation is maybe potentially go look for. It's not. I wouldn't call it a cheap book by any means. But Jungle Action 6, which is the first appearance of Killmonger, it's the book definitely saw a little bit of a dive after everybody went crazy over Shuri and thinking that she's going to be the next Black Panther, which I do think she'll appear as Black Panther. I'm confident in that. That's why this is called speculation, friends, because I've got nothing really on it. This is just based on one line in the movie and then this breaking news that he is going to be in multiple projects. So that's all I'm saying. That's what I got.
I mean, it's a sound theory. I don't know if it's going to 100% pull off as far as him being the next Black Panther. But I did see some of those reports. I think they're working on a Killmonger series for Disney Plus, which would probably be have to be a what is it called? Flashback. I think it might be a flashback. Maybe it's part of the what if. I don't know. But as far as Jungle Action 6, you're right. It took a dive after the movie came out, as most villain books do. But I've always liked that cover. I just think it's a sweet cover.
It's a great cover and a great character. Because I don't think he is just your common villain, right? I think he's a misunderstood anti-hero in a way.
Yeah. I agree.
I know people wanted more Killmonger, especially, like how he died and stuff. They're very disappointed. So I could see them somehow bringing him back.
Well, and honestly, Michael B. Jordan killed it in that role. He was so good. But you tell me something about that movie that wasn't so good. That movie was amazing. And I still hold that it might be one of the best MCU films ever, right? Like I think it's top 5. So it's really good.
It's a really good movie. I agree.
Okay, well, that does it. We've gone through all of our segments. We've asked Nat a ton of questions. Thank you so much for withstanding all of those and coming on and talking about your Grail and just playing along with us. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like I said, it's I don't know, it feels nice when I guess people want to hear what I have to say, because I'm like, oh, they actually want to talk to me.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Thanks for asking me to be on here and hear what I have to say.
Yeah, you are very welcome. Is there where can our listeners go to find you? We've talked a lot about Instagram and things like that, but I wanted to make sure that we drop that one more time for everybody.
My Instagram is the Comix Queen, and that's COMIX Queen. I changed my Twitter and basically everything else to that as well. So.
Nice. Yeah, and everybody out there listening, she is a great follow on Instagram. She does a lot of videos every week, and she has recommendations. And again, her merch is second to none. It's great merch, a lot of really cool stuff. Shirts you'd actually want to wear. So is the way I would put it. Yeah, of course. All right. That's going to do it for this week. We'll be back next week, as always, with another Grail tale. Thanks, everybody out there, for listening. Have a good week.
My hat is on.
I meant your work hat.
This is my work hat.